Hey guys, my name's Exton. This week I'm going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 3 of My Hero Academia. This week's episode was amazing. I really like this week's episode. I feel like everything's really kicking off properly. We got some action, we got some new music, everything got going and it really got me excited for next week's, which is going to be amazing. So when the episode kicks off, we see Class 1B walking towards the training area, being told that they need to step up basically because the first semester Class 1A took all the limelight. Everything was about them. Vlad, their homeroom teacher, basically tells them, that they're going to be training their quirks and that quirks are the same as muscles, and the more you use them, the stronger that they get. Now, the way he explains it is that when muscle fibers are overused, they snap, and then when they heal, they heal thicker and stronger, and that's how people build muscle, and that quirks work in exactly the same way. So they come to like a clearing, and you get to see Class 1A training in a ridiculous amount of ways. It seems ridiculous that like some of the training that they're doing. Like you've got Bakugo repeatedly thrusting his hands into boiling water to open the sweat glands on his palms, and then it looks like he has his most powerful technique that he uses that literally just blasts so much of his nitroglycerin at the same time that it basically does so much damage to his arm. He seems to be doing that from both his arms repeatedly. The strain on his body must be huge. Todoroki's sat in a bath. He's heating the area around him and then freezing the area around him, trying to regulate the temperature of the water in his bath. And it says, at some point he might be able to use both sides of his power at the same time. That'd be amazing. I'd love to see that. You see Sero, the guy who shoots tape from his arms, he's just continuously shooting tape down into like a canyon, and that's supposed to increase his shoot range and the strength of his tape. Ojiro and Kaminari are training together. Ojiro's the guy that has the tail, so he's basically practicing hitting his tail against Kirishima, who's hardened. Together, their quirks are just going to get stronger. Kaminari's either channeling electricity into a battery or taking electricity from a battery. I'm not sure which. I think he's taking electricity from a battery to try and train his body to handle higher amounts of electricity so he doesn't just end up derping all over the place when he uses his quirk. Coda's the guy who has any voice. He can speak to animals and tell them to do whatever he wants. He's basically just screaming. He's just screaming in just at the sky. It's good to stop him being as shy, and I'm guessing he's training his voice so that it can be louder so his voice can be heard from larger distances. Aoyama, the guy who has naval laser, he's basically just repeatedly shooting his laser to try and get his stomach used to using it so he don't get stomachache when he uses it for long periods of time. Tokoyami with Dark Shadow, he's in a dark cave. I'm guessing just using Dark Shadow to try and keep him under control because he says that he's hard to control. He gets a bit unruly in the dark. Uraraka, she's basically used zero gravity on herself and rolling in circles, training the canals in her ear so that she don't get as much motion sickness when she uses her quirks, and also to train how much weight she can make float. Ida's doing long runs, like laps around the entire training pitch, just running long distance, training his stamina and his speed. Frope Sue, she's like scaling a vertical mountain face, like a cliff face. Like her tongue's attached to the top, and she seems to just be doing all-purpose training because she's an all-rounder. Sato's sat there eating a cake, pumping iron. Like repeatedly pumping iron, because obviously the more sugar he takes in, the stronger he gets. So he's training. I'm guessing he's training like the max that he can lift. And then next to him you have Yaoyorozu. Now Yaoyorozu's quirk's really interesting because they don't really explain it properly, but she can create things using the lipids in her body. So the more fat reserves that she has in her body, the quicker and more she can make things. So she eats a lot. So she's sat there eating cake as well, creating the Matryoshka that we've seen her make before. Jiro's basically repeatedly stabbing her earphone jacks into a cliff face, and I'm guessing projecting sound into it to train both the strength of her jacks and the quality of and how loud the sound that she projects is. Ashido, who has the acid quirk, she's just intermittently making acid out of her palms. I'm guessing to get more endurance with her skin and stuff. Mineta's pulling the grapes, the the little spheres that he has on the head repeatedly, just pulling them off because his scalp bleeds when he uses it too much. So he's pulling them off to train his endurance. Shoji, right, this is a really interesting one because Shoji is the guy who has tentacle, and he has the weird tentacle arms, and he can create like eyes and ears and stuff like that on the end of his tentacles. So he's trying to find Hagakure, or Hagakure, I can't remember how it's pronounced. But she's the girl that's invisible. So she's trying to stay hidden, and he's trying to find her. I thought it was such a cool way of training both their quirks at the same time. So it goes back to 1B, and 1B are just like, what? This is hell. What's going on here? And Aizawa and Vlad basically explain that they're forcing the quirks to get stronger. This is something that normally happens naturally with human body, but they can't afford to wait. The villains have been active. They need to like kickstart their progress as heroes, so they're forcing the bodies to get stronger with the quirks. The Wild Wild Pussycats explain that between them, they each have the perfect quirks, sort of to train a mass group. Got Ragdoll, her quirks search. She can know info on up to 100 people at a time just by looking at them. She'll know their location, the weaknesses, the strengths, etc. Almost like a scan of each individual person. She can have like up to 100 people stored at one time, so that's a really helpful quirk. Pixie Bob, her quirk is Earth Flow. She can make the perfect places for each person to train just because it seems like Earth just becomes malleable. She's really similar to Cementos, but almost as if she's just stronger than Cementos because she's got Earth Flow. Like, it's not just cement that she can control, it's like all Earth. So her quirk seems just generally stronger than Cementos. I don't know how they'd match up in a fight. It's a fight I'd like to see. You've got Mandalay. Her quirk is Telepath. She can speak to people, obviously, through her mind. She can give people pointers, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, stop doing that. All, like, multiple people at the same time. Then you've got Tiger. Tiger's quirk is Player Body. And it doesn't really explain what his quirk is. I'm guessing we're going to find out further down the line. He says that his job is assault through punches and kicks. Basically, he's taking the physical type students, people that have physical quirks, and training them. So Class 1B make their way into like the plane, this hell training ground where 1A are, and sees Midoriya training with Tiger. So Tiger goes and says, you've got a lot of life in you. Hit me with one for all. Hit me with it. So Midoriya, like, he goes all out. He uses his full 5%, tries to hit him. Tiger dodges out the way. Cat punches him into a tree and says, it's supposed to be plus ultra. Come at me, plus ultra. It cuts back to Aizawa, and Aizawa says that the Wild Wild Pussycats are the perfect people to train both 1A and 1B. They've got the ideal quirks just to take them to the next level as quick as possible. Midoriya is on the floor and he starts reminiscing about All Might giving him his quirk and all the help he's got off people, Gran Torino, and all the help that he's had. And he basically resolves himself. He steals himself and says it's down to him now. It's down to him to train and get to number one. All the work's with him now. He's got basically as much help as he's going to get. Once they've finished all the training and everything, the students are making a curry. Now, if you remember, after the first day, the Wild Wild Pussycats said that they weren't going to cook for them again. Like, they're going to have to look after themselves. They're going to have to cook. So the students are making curry. They're really exhausted while they're making this, but, they say they're going to put their all into it. Bakugo shows a complete lack of cooperation again, because they've got all these, like, furnaces that they're going to use to cook, and Todoroki's lighting fires. And I think it's Sero says to him, use your explosions to light this fire. And Bakugo just says, like hell, I'd help you guys, and just explodes the entire furnace. Typical Bakugo, really. They make all the food. The food isn't great. One of them says, if I got this in a restaurant, I won't be very happy. But in the circumstances that they're in, they're going to wolf as much food as they can get because they're absolutely exhausted from the day's training that they've had. Ashido observes that Yaoyorozu eats a lot. And Yaoyorozu basically explains that her quirk, she uses lipids, she uses fat reserves to make things. And Sero's sat there and is like, it's kind of like poo. And Ashido hits him on the head and tells him to apologise. They've put in a lot of gags in this season of My Hero Academia. I weren't expecting that, but it's really making me laugh. Midoriya sees that Kota is walking away from everyone, so he follows him. He sort of like tracks his footsteps to this cliff top cave that Kota's using as a secret base. Now, they have an exchange of words. Midoriya comes in and says, I've got this curry for you. I thought you'd be hungry. And Kota basically throws it back in his face. Not the curry, like the sentiment. He throws the sentiment in his face and says, you know, you disgust me, everyone trying to show off with the quirks. It's ridiculous. Everyone talks about heroes and villains. And he really just shows that he has just a hate for the superhuman society as a whole. He doesn't hate villains. He doesn't hate heroes. He hates superhumans. He hates that about the world. And Midoriya, trying to help Kota, talks about his friend who didn't have an hereditary quirk. You know, he always wanted to be a hero but couldn't. It weren't open for him, and he tried and tried to activate a quirk inside him, and it didn't work. And he idolised heroes. And Kota he sort of cuts him off halfway and tells him, you know, get the hell away from here. This is my hidden base. I don't want to listen to your shit anymore. So Midoriya says, okay, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. Midoriya walks away, and then it cuts. And you see the villains. The villains are sort of on a cliff, a bit away from where all the students are staying. But they can see where they are staying. I think there's 7 of them at that point. And some of them are like cloaked. You don't get to see them all. Some of them look absolutely ridiculous. Some of them are bizarre. And Dabby's there now. Dabby's the one that's got all the burnt flesh on his face that seems stitched to keep it together. And Dabby explains that, you know, we're not going to go mad yet. We're going to wait for all 10 people to arrive, because it's better having a small team of veteran villains, like experts, than it is to just have a large group and go wild. So this is sort of the polar opposite of when they attack USJ in Season 1. Although obviously they're not trying to kill All Might, because All Might's not there. But the way that they've gone about it, it's like they've learned from like how much they failed at USJ. It cuts then to training again the next day, and Aizawa's talking to the students and telling them to never forget where they've come from. You know, basically telling them that don't make light of the opportunity that you've got. Always remember why you wanted to come to UA. Remember that you want to be heroes and put 100% into everything that you're doing. At that point, Pixie Bob explains that tonight, after they've had all the training and they've done all the food, the meal and everything, they're going to be pitted against each other, Class 1A versus Class 1B, in a test of courage. Now, the students some of the students really like this idea, some don't. Some are like, I hate the dark, I hate being scared. Some of the others are like, yes, we get to do actual summer camp stuff. And Tokoyami's like, he says this phrase probably 3 or 4 times throughout the entire episode. He's like, revelry in the dark. Really getting into it because, you know, he has Dark Shadow inside him. I'm guessing he just enjoys dark places. It cuts to them making their meal for the night, and Bakugo's chopping vegetables really, really fast, showing real skill with a knife. And Uraraka says that it's really surprising. He has a go at her. I'm really getting bored of this whole Bakugo's absolutely great at everything thing. He's not had any character development whatsoever. Like, I know a lot of people like Bakugo, but he's probably one of my least favourite characters. I'm probably going to get slated big time for that, but he don't come off well with me. I think he needs to develop a bit, or, you know, try and get involved a bit more. He has really bad cooperation, which I don't see how he could actually be a hero. Although I no, even Endeavour has cooperation because he has his hero agency and everything. So I don't know what the deal is with Bakugo. I hope he improves at some point in the future. Todoroki walks up to Midoriya and says, you know, earlier you were speaking to Aizawa about whether All Might was going to be here. What did you want him for? And Midoriya explains that, you know, he had this conversation with Kota and he was really wondering what All Might would have said to try and help him in that situation. And Todoroki basically says that it doesn't matter, you know, what's in his head. All that matters is the actions that he's taken in the past or he's taking now. It's a really good piece of information, but from what I can see, Kota's going down the wrong path. Like, he really just hates superhumans. So, I'm guessing something's going to happen in this arc to change that. Because, you know, it's a shonen manga, these type of things happen. So, it cuts to where they're going to be doing the test of courage, and the extra lessons group, unfortunately, Aizawa says that they're going to be doing their extra lessons while this is happening. They're not going to be able to get, you know, take part in the test of courage. They hate that. They want to go and get tested. They get dragged away by Aizawa. Pixie Bob basically explains that Class B are going to be the ones scaring first, and Class A are going to draw straws and go in pairs in 3-minute intervals around like this great big loop. Now, on the opposite side to where they start, there's going to be sort of like name ballots. So they've got to pick up their own name and then deliver it back to the start, as in like, you know, yeah, we went all the way around. we completed this test of courage. Because of the ones, like the extra group that are doing extra training, they had to go with Aizawa. There's an odd number. So Midoriya doesn't get a partner. He's basically on his own, which he's physically affected by this. He don't want to be on his own. I thought Midoriya was brave, and courageous, but obviously he's scared about the thought of going into the forest on his own. So it cuts to a group of students from 1B, and they've basically been making the floor almost as if it's like water, and one of the other students is hiding in the floor, and then when the two people from class 1A come round, she's sort of sticking her head out the floor, and she's scaring loads of people, and they're sort of laughing at Bakugo and Todoroki's the way they reacted, their reactions when they saw the head on the floor. And one of them's laughing and then says that he smells something burning, and he's like, oh, did Bakugo and Todoroki get that scared that they let off the quirks? And as he's saying it, he collapses face first on the floor. Kendo from class 1B, she has the quirk Big Hands. She immediately grasps the girl who's been sunk into the floor with her hand and tells her not to breathe in because the smoke that's rolled in, that's poisonous. At this point, it cuts to Dabi, and we see him with his hand on a tree, and he's burning the tree, smouldering the tree with this blue fire that he has. And it's causing a whole load of black smoke and to just roll all the way through the forest. And he says, let's get things started. It's time to begin. At this point, it cuts to the start where all the students and Mandalay, Pixie Bob, and Tiger are stood. And I think it's Mandalay that gets... No, it's Pixie Bob. Pixie Bob gets dragged away. Like, this red glow appears around her and drags her away. And at that point, Mineta and the others, they turn around, and Mineta's like, I thought they double checked. None of this was supposed to happen. Why is the villains here? And there's two villains, one that looks like a lizard, and the other one just looks like a dude with hair like me and sunglasses. And he's got something bandaged up, like stuck on Pixie Bob's head. And he's like, these pussycats are in the way. And Midoriya immediately goes to charge at the villains, but he gets stopped by Mandalay and Tiger. And then Mandalay he's like, oh no, this is bad. And then Midoriya realises that she's really worried because Kota's not here. So Midoriya sort of turns around, shouts Kota's name, looks as if he's going to run off, and then it ends. They leave you on such a cliffhanger. I hate waiting weekly for anime as it is, but when they leave you with cliffhangers like that is the worst. I've watched this episode probably 4 or 5 times just because I'm so pumped for next week. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing next week. It's out of this world. What rating would I give this episode? This episode definitely kicked it up a notch. Now we got some relationship development between Kota and Midoriya. We got all the training stuff. I think that was cool. I think I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I'd definitely give it a 4 out of 5 because things stepped up a gear, but it's not quite reached the heights that the other 2 seasons have hit yet. But we're only effectively 2 episodes in because the first episode was a recap episode. So episode 4 is going to be amazing. Are we going to get to find out what Tiger's quirk is? Player body. You get to see that weird crater in the wall near Kota's secret hideout. As Kota got a strong quirk, is he going to fight back? We see that shadow just behind Kota. Midoriya is on his way. Is he going to be able to get there in time and save Kota? How many of the students have been knocked out from the weird smoke that's rolled in? I have so many questions about the next episode, but it's going to go off. I cannot wait. So that was this week's video. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please subscribe. If you didn't like the video, don't subscribe. I'm live on Twitch pretty much 6 days a week. I give myself 1 day to rest each week. And as always, I'm going to be bringing out new videos weekly pertaining to My Hero Academia and maybe some others. Thanks for watching.